Hello everyone, welcome to our meetings assistance for Jehovah's Witnesses. I hope you are all doing well. In this video, we will analyze and answer the questions from this week's Watchtower study. It corresponds to the week of February 24th to March 2nd, and it is titled Jehovah Remembers All Your Tears. Without further ado, let's begin. Let's look at questions number 1 and 2. What situations could make us cry? We cry for many reasons. Sometimes it's out of joy, like when a child is born or when we reunite with a good friend. However, most of the time, we cry because of pain, whether it's from loss, illness, or great disappointment. These moments of suffering can lead to deep and constant crying, as Jeremiah experienced. Additional comments. In Lamentations 3:48-49, Jeremiah's crying is described as streams of water, reflecting the magnitude of his suffering as he witnessed the destruction of Jerusalem. His tears not only represent his personal pain but also the collective suffering of his people, showing us how suffering can be shared by an entire community in times of crisis. In Lamentations 3:49, Jeremiah says his eyes will cry without ceasing, expressing a deep desperation in the face of tragedy. This constant weeping reflects how, in moments of extreme distress, pain can feel endless, affecting our inner peace and our ability to heal quickly. Let's move on to question number 3. How does Jehovah feel when he sees his servants suffer? Isaiah 63:9. Jehovah feels deeply saddened when he sees his servants suffering. The Bible assures us that he is aware of all our pain and listens when we ask him for help. As our loving Father, he is moved when he sees us cry and acts quickly to provide us with support, as mentioned in Isaiah 63:9. Additional comments. In Isaiah 63:9, it is highlighted how Jehovah, seeing the suffering of his people, does not remain distant. Instead of being indifferent, he gets directly involved, showing his compassion. This reminds us that, as our Heavenly Father, he cares deeply for our well-being and provides comfort in times of affliction. The fact that Jehovah acts to help us when we suffer, as described in Isaiah 63:9, reflects his loving nature. He doesn't just observe our pain, he also offers his active support. This verse emphasizes that his compassion goes beyond words, as he is always ready to intervene and help us in our hardest moments. Let's look at question number 4. What biblical examples will we analyze, and what will we learn about Jehovah? In the Bible, we find several examples of how Jehovah acted when he saw his servants cry, such as in the cases of Hannah, David, and King Hezekiah. Each of them faced situations that made them shed tears, but Jehovah intervened to comfort them. By studying these examples, we learn that Jehovah always listens and acts on our behalf when we are afflicted, providing comfort in moments of sadness, betrayal, or despair. Additional comments. In 1 Samuel 1:10-20, Hannah cried bitterly because she could not have children, and Jehovah heard her plea. Seeing her anguish, he responded to her prayer and gave her a son, Samuel. This example shows us how Jehovah is not indifferent to our pain, but responds with love and compassion when we ask for help with faith. In 2 Kings 20:5-6, King Hezekiah cried inconsolably after receiving a message of death, but Jehovah saw his tears and granted him more time to live. This act of mercy demonstrates how Jehovah is sensitive to our anguish and, in his compassion, gives us what we need to carry on. Let's move on to the first subtitle, Tears from Sadness. Let's look at question number 5. How did Hannah feel? Hannah felt deeply sad and distressed due to the difficult situation she was living in. Her husband had another wife, Peninnah, who mistreated her and mocked her for her barrenness. This constant humiliation caused Hannah to be deeply distressed, to the point that she cried and did not eat, as described in 1 Samuel 1:6, 7, 10. Additional comments. In 1 Samuel 1:6-7, we see how Peninnah, mocking Hannah for her barrenness, increased her emotional pain. This situation reflects how trials are not only physical but also emotional, and how suffering can be intensified by the cruel treatment of others. Despite this, Hannah turned to Jehovah in prayer, showing that even in our deepest distress, we can seek comfort in him. Hannah's distress, expressed in 1 Samuel 1:10, shows us how internal pain can affect us deeply, to the point of not being able to eat or find comfort in anything. However, this verse also highlights the importance of turning to Jehovah in those moments, as Hannah did, seeking refuge and help in him to overcome our trials. Let's look at question number 6. What did Hannah do to feel better? To feel better, Hannah went to the tabernacle, the place of worship to Jehovah. There, she prayed with tears, asking God to remember her and show compassion for her suffering, as recorded in 1 Samuel 1:10b-11. Hannah expressed to Jehovah everything she was feeling, opening up completely to him. Additional comments. In 1 Samuel 1:10b-11, Hannah didn't just pray, she expressed her pain to Jehovah sincerely. By telling God how she felt, Hannah showed how prayer can be a way to alleviate suffering by confiding our deepest feelings to Jehovah. This act reflects the importance of approaching him with honesty when we are going through moments of anguish. 1 Samuel 1:11 also invites us to reflect on how Jehovah, as a loving father, feels when he sees his children suffer. When he heard Hannah's sincere prayer, he was likely deeply moved by the pain of his daughter. This reminds us that he is always willing to listen to our pleas and respond with compassion. Let's look at question number 7. How did Hannah feel after opening her heart to Jehovah? After opening her heart to Jehovah and hearing the comforting words of the high priest Eli, Hannah felt relieved. The account says that, she went away and ate, and her sadness disappeared from her face. Although her situation hadn't changed at that moment, Hannah experienced emotional relief by leaving her burden in Jehovah's hands. Additional comments. In 1 Samuel 1:17-18, we see that, although Hannah had not yet received the answer to her prayer, the mere act of trusting in Jehovah and expressing her distress gave her peace. This teaches us that by giving our concerns to God in prayer, we can find relief and peace, even before seeing changes in our circumstances. Hannah's relief, as described in 1 Samuel 1:17-18, reflects how Jehovah, upon hearing our sincere pleas, gives us emotional comfort. By trusting in Him, Hannah stopped carrying her suffering, and Jehovah, in His compassion, gave her what she longed for, as seen in 1 Samuel 1:19-20. This highlights how God not only listens but also acts on behalf of those who trust in Him. Let's look at questions number 8 and 9. According to Hebrews 10:24-25, why should we do everything we can to attend meetings? We should do everything we can to attend meetings because, even if we are going through difficult times, such as mourning, when we gather with our brothers, Jehovah can comfort us. In the meetings, we hear Bible passages that encourage us and can replace negative thoughts with positive ones, helping us feel better, as stated in Hebrews 10:24-25. Additional comments. In Hebrews 10:24-25, we are encouraged not to neglect gathering together, especially when we are going through difficulties. Meeting with our brothers not only strengthens us spiritually, but also provides the comfort needed to endure emotional pain. Just like Hannah, who found comfort in the tabernacle, we can find relief in the faith community and in the encouraging words we share. 1 Thessalonians 5:11-14 reminds us that we should comfort one another in times of distress. Meetings not only allow us to receive comfort from Jehovah through His Word, but also offer us the emotional support of our brothers. As in the case of the pioneer who shared their experience, the words and gestures of others can be a balm for our pain, helping us move forward with hope. Let's look at question number 10. How can we follow Hannah's example in moments of deep sadness? We can follow Hannah's example in moments of deep sadness by pouring our hearts out to Jehovah, just as she did in her prayer. By sharing our concerns with Him, as stated in 1 Peter 5:7, we can trust that He listens to us. Although we may not always know how to express what we feel, Jehovah perfectly understands our pain and offers us comfort, giving us peace and strength to keep going. Additional comments. In 1 Peter 5:7, we are encouraged to cast our anxieties on Jehovah because He cares for us. Just like the sister who lost her husband, who found comfort in her prayers, we can turn to Jehovah for peace, even if we don't have the exact words to describe our suffering. Jehovah, as a loving Father, understands our pain and helps us bear it. In Psalm 94:19 and Philippians 4:6-7, we are shown that Jehovah provides comfort in the midst of distress. By opening our hearts to Him, we can experience a peace that transcends understanding, even when our circumstances don't change immediately. Moreover, as mentioned in Hebrews 11:6, Jehovah rewards our faith and perseverance, helping us remain steadfast and hopeful in difficult times. Let's move on to the second subtitle, Tears from Betrayal. Let's look at question number 11. How did David feel when others treated him badly? David felt deeply distressed and hurt when he was mistreated and betrayed by those around him, including some family members and friends. In Psalm 6:6-7, he expresses that his suffering was so great that he could not contain his tears, as he felt overwhelmed by those who persecuted and harmed him. Additional comments. In 1 Samuel 19:10-11 and 2 Samuel 15:10-14, 30, we see how David was pursued and betrayed by those he trusted. These experiences led him to great distress, as described in Psalm 6:6-7, where his pain was manifested in uncontrollable weeping. This situation shows us how betrayals and mistreatment by others can cause deep emotional suffering. David's weeping, as described in Psalm 6:6-7, reflects the intensity of the pain that rejection and mistreatment can cause. His experience demonstrates that it is natural to feel great pain when the people around us harm us, but it also invites us to seek comfort in Jehovah, who understands our emotions and is willing to help us in our hardest moments. Let's look at question number 12. According to Psalm 56:8, what was David convinced of? David was convinced that Jehovah loved him and deeply cared about his suffering. In Psalm 56:8, he poetically describes how Jehovah collects each of his tears, showing that God was aware of all his pains and remembered them. David believed that his loving Heavenly Father not only knew his problems but also understood how they made him feel. Additional comments. In Psalm 56:8, David expresses his confidence that Jehovah not only sees our sufferings, but also cares deeply about our emotions. The image of Jehovah collecting his tears in a bottle is a poetic representation of his attentive care, reflecting the deep loving and compassionate relationship between Jehovah and his servants. David's certainty, expressed in Psalm 56:8, teaches us that we are not alone in our pain. Jehovah not only knows our struggles but also understands the emotional impact they have on us. This verse encourages us to trust that God is aware of everything we feel and that His love for us is immense and constant. Let's look at question number 13. What can comfort us if someone has disappointed or betrayed us? If someone has disappointed or betrayed us, we can find comfort by remembering that Jehovah will never abandon us. Although people may fail us, Jehovah is our rock, and He will always be there to support us. As mentioned in Psalm 37:28, He will never abandon His faithful ones, and in Romans 8:38-39, we are assured that His love for us is unbreakable, no matter what others do. Additional comments. In Psalm 37:28, we are reminded that Jehovah, unlike humans, never abandons us. Even though people may betray us, God is a constant refuge who provides security and comfort. This certainty helps us cope with the sadness that comes from disappointment, knowing that we can rely on His unconditional love. Romans 8:38-39 teaches us that, despite the difficulties we face, nothing can separate us from Jehovah's love. Divine love is stronger than any human betrayal or disappointment, which gives us confidence that, even when others fail us, Jehovah will always care for us and love us deeply. Let's look at question number 14. What does Psalm 34:18 assure us? Psalm 34:18 assures us that Jehovah is near to those who are broken-hearted, especially those suffering from betrayal or disappointment. This verse shows us that Jehovah not only sees our pain, but he draws close to us to comfort us, alleviating our suffering and giving us hope for the future. Additional comments. In Psalm 34:18, Jehovah's nearness is compared to a father embracing his child when they cry. This image shows his compassion and how quickly Jehovah responds to our suffering. He is not distant but comes near to provide us with comfort and peace, fully understanding our pain and helping us overcome it. Psalm 34:18 and Isaiah 65:17 teach us that, although we are going through times of great sadness, Jehovah offers us more than just comfort, he gives us hope for the future. He assures us that, despite our current problems, there are good things awaiting us, and this hope strengthens our faith and helps us endure with patience. Let's move on to the third subtitle, Tears from Despair. Let's look at question number 15. What situation made King Hezekiah cry uncontrollably? King Hezekiah cried uncontrollably when, at 39 years old, he became seriously ill and Jehovah, through the prophet Isaiah, told him that he would die from the disease. This announcement of death deeply distressed him, and Hezekiah begged Jehovah to help him. Additional comments. In 2 Kings 20:2-3, we see how the news of his imminent death led Hezekiah to deep suffering. This reaction shows us that even kings, with all their power, are vulnerable to pain and despair, which underscores the importance of turning to Jehovah in times of crisis. Hezekiah's crying and plea in 2 Kings 20:2-3 reflect the human need to seek comfort in Jehovah when we face extreme situations. It teaches us that, even when hope seems lost, we can always turn to God with confidence, knowing that He listens to our prayers and can intervene in our lives. Let's look at question number 16. When Jehovah heard Hezekiah's prayer and saw his tears, how did he feel and what did he do for him? When Jehovah heard Hezekiah's prayer and saw his tears, he was deeply moved. Through Isaiah, he assured Hezekiah that he had heard his prayer and saw his suffering, promising to heal him, extend his life, and rescue Jerusalem from the Assyrians. Additional comments. In 2 Kings 20:4-6, we see how Jehovah responds with compassion to Hezekiah's suffering. Upon seeing his tears and hearing his prayer, Jehovah not only offered him healing but also a promise of protection for Jerusalem, showing his mercy toward those who turn to him in times of anguish. Jehovah's response in 2 Kings 20:4-6 highlights how, seeing Hezekiah's genuine pain, Jehovah showed mercy. This act of compassion demonstrates that He not only hears our prayers but also responds with action, providing us with relief and hope in times of despair. Let's look at question number 17. How does Jehovah sustain us when we have serious health problems? Psalm 41:3, also see the image. When we face serious health problems, Jehovah sustains us by comforting us and providing the necessary support. Although He does not always remove the problems immediately, He offers us His Holy Spirit to strengthen us, gives us inner peace, and the hope that, in the future, all diseases will disappear. Additional comments. In 2 Corinthians 1:3-4, we are reminded that Jehovah is the Father of tender mercies, and the God of all comfort. This description highlights how Jehovah, with His infinite compassion, is close to us in our moments of pain, providing us with comfort and support even when circumstances do not change immediately. Let's look at question number 18. What Bible text has helped you in a particularly difficult situation? See the box, words with which Jehovah dries our tears. In difficult moments, the Bible offers us comfort through Jehovah's words. A text that can help us is Isaiah 26:3, which reminds us that Jehovah can give us peace and help us control how we react to difficulties. The Bible is full of passages like this that strengthen us and reassure us that Jehovah cares about us in our trials. Additional comments. Isaiah 26:3 emphasizes how Jehovah can provide us with inner peace, even when circumstances are beyond our control. This verse reflects how faith in Jehovah gives us the ability to remain calm and hopeful, despite difficult times. Romans 15:4 teaches us that the Scriptures were written for our comfort and encouragement. In times of despair, Bible texts act as a reminder of Jehovah's love and care, helping us endure our trials with faith and confidence in Him. Let's look at question number 19. What reward awaits us? The reward that awaits us is Jehovah's promise to wipe away all our tears and put an end to pain, as described in Revelation 21:4. Despite the difficulties we face, we can be sure that if we maintain our faithfulness, Jehovah will reward us with a future free of suffering, where only joy will remain. Additional comments. Revelation 21:4 assures us that, in the new world, Jehovah will eliminate all suffering. This promise is a source of hope, as it reminds us that our difficulties are temporary and that, with faithfulness, we will reach a future without pain or sadness. The examples of Hannah, David, and Hezekiah show that Jehovah not only sees our tears but also deeply cares about our suffering. By maintaining our faith, as mentioned in Revelation 21:4, we trust that Jehovah will reward us with eternal comfort, where pain will be but a memory of the past. Now we will answer the review questions titled, How did Jehovah comfort these servants of His? Question 1. Hannah. Jehovah comforted Hannah by hearing her sincere prayer and seeing the distress she felt over her infertility. After Hannah poured out her heart in the tabernacle and asked Jehovah in faith to remember her, He not only heard her request but also gave her a son, Samuel. This comfort not only alleviated her pain but also allowed her to see how Jehovah acts in response to the faith and prayers of His servants. Through this act of mercy, Jehovah demonstrated that he is near to those who are afflicted and always answers prayers with love and care. Question 2. David. Jehovah comforted David in the midst of his anguish, especially when he was betrayed by those he trusted. David turned to Jehovah in prayer, and in the Psalms, he expresses his confidence that Jehovah would listen and sustain him. Jehovah gave him strength and hope, as reflected in the passages where David shows his certainty that Jehovah was with him, even in moments of suffering. Question 3. King Hezekiah. When Hezekiah received the news that he would die, he was devastated and begged Jehovah for his life. Jehovah, seeing his suffering, responded through the prophet Isaiah, promising to add 15 years to his life and protect Jerusalem from the Assyrians. Jehovah showed his mercy and heard his prayer, giving him comfort and hope. Well, these have been the answers from this week's Watchtower study. I hope they will be very helpful to you, my dear brothers and sisters. We will see you next week with a new video. I send you a big hug, and may Jehovah always bless and protect you.